Yes, so as you guys can see, I had my first breakdown. You know what I'm saying? First breakdown since I've had the truck. It's been running pretty decent. Honestly, I thought it was the clutch. You know what I'm saying? But it was the slave cylinder basically. Slave cylinder needed to be replaced. The clutch was completely gone. Like when you depressed it, it didn't come back. You know what I'm saying? It was just stuck to the floor. I ran for like 400, not 400, I think it's like 300 miles. I was on the short run to try to drop it before the pay period cuts off, and I ran all the way, and I got literally 2 minutes away from the shipper, from the receiver, and then the clutch basically went out. So I had to get the truck towed. You know what I'm saying? That was a whole different story. In this video, I'm basically going to talk about, like, should you go buy a truck right now, or, you know, compare it to, like, buying your truck to leasing, you know what I'm saying? Because luckily, and from my experience, even though I've just become an actual owner-operator, I kind of was on both sides of the fence, you know what I'm saying? At one point in time, I was a lease driver. Now I actually bought my truck, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna tell you guys my experience so far on what I think if you should go buy a truck, if it's all that and more like everybody say, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, but basically let me tell you guys about the breakdown. Like I said, it was the slave cylinder, I believe. It was leaking and it needed to be replaced, so I got that replaced. The truck basically went out like 2 minutes, 3-4 minutes away from the receiver, so I had to get it towed. I broke down maybe like 9 o'clock in the night, and I decided not to tow it until the next morning because I didn't want to tow it to like a nearby shop and they couldn't do the work because I felt like it was a clutch. Honestly, I ain't gonna lie, like when I did the whole research on the clutch and I called Freightliner up, and before I even called Freightliner, because Freightliner was basically closed, but I did some research online to ballpark see what number it was, just to see if it was a clutch, if I had to replace the whole clutch, and I was budgeting to spend about $5,000, you know what I'm saying? Because the clutch is, I think, like $1,700, 15 to 1,700 bucks, and then it's like $2,500 in labor at the Freightliner dealership. Now, if I was doing it at a smaller shop, then I'd get it a lot cheaper, but luckily, like I said, it wasn't a clutch. I'm going to tell you guys how much I did end up spending for the entire repair and for the towing. So I never got the truck towed until the next morning. I was kind of a mess. I ended up losing $350 that I could have saved, and this is basically how it went down. So it cost me $650 to tow the truck and the trailer. It was so expensive because I had the truck and the trailer to be towed. So they towed it to a shop about 10 minutes away from where I was. After they towed it there, they put the truck in the shop. The trailer was outside in the yard. My dispatch called me up saying I should see if I could have them tow the trailer over to the shipper, because like I said, I wasn't really far. I keep saying shipper, to the receiver, but because like I said, I wasn't really far. So I ended up doing that, paying another $350 to get the trailer over there. Went over there, put the trailer in the dock, sat there for about 35 to 40 minutes. Then they came back out and said, you know, they can't unload it right now because I came there late, because I was supposed to be there from 8 o'clock this morning, and I never got over there until maybe like 11 because the truck had broken down. Then the tow truck guy, he was sitting in the dock with me, because we basically bobtailed over there to pick the truck up, to pick the trailer up, to take it over there. And then he had another job lined up, so he kind of had to go. It wasn't his fault, but his boss was kind of like tripping about the whole thing, so he had to go. Then the receivers were saying I couldn't leave the trailer in the dock. They were saying I couldn't leave it on the yard, you know what I'm saying? So I had to park it outside. So, and then they still didn't even ended up getting it unloaded. So I just wasted $350 getting the trailer over there, because I still have the load right now. I'm going to deliver it 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. So, you know, apart from that, the repair ended up costing, I think it's like 222 or 200 bucks thereabout for the slave cylinder. And then I think it was like 2 or 3, it's about 3 or 4 hours, it's about 3 hours total for them to replace it and top the clutch fluid back up, you know what I'm saying? So that in total I ended up spending about 1600, because I did have to Uber back and forth, you know what I mean, to the shipper and the shop and all that. So I ended up spending about 1600 for my first repair, you know what I mean. Just before I got out here, I actually serviced the truck, gave it an oil change and greased it up and everything. So I just literally spent 600 bucks. So that's what, about 2200 thereabout, you know what I'm saying. When I first got the truck, when I went to orientation, they told me one of my radiator hose was leaking. It was two of those hoses were leaking. I had to replace those. That cost me about 600 bucks also. What was that? Where am I? That's like 2800. Since I put 2800 bucks into the truck since I've basically gotten it, other than just, you know, minor things like, you know, like this tablet mount. That doesn't have anything to do with it, but that's just money that I basically spent in the truck, you know what I mean. So I'm in 2800, but the truck has been pretty reliable and pretty good, you know what I mean. Hopefully everything runs nice and smooth now. But yeah, let's basically touch on the topic of, like, you know, should you go buy a truck or should you just lease a truck? Is it that much big of a difference? Honestly, it depends on what lease, you know what I'm saying. We're going to talk about the big elephant in the room, like VL trucking lease compared to owning the truck like this, you know what I mean. If you're going to do a lease like VL trucking, even though it doesn't work for everybody, but for the most part it does, I would recommend you do a lease like that, you know what I'm saying. Don't go doing a mega carrier lease, not to knock anybody that's working at the mega carrier, that's doing the mega carrier leasing, you know what I mean, because everybody gets their money whichever way. So I'm not talking down on anybody, just to make that clear. But it's just in comparison from what I've seen with the mega carrier lease, like, you know, Trans Am drivers, what they used to make as lease drivers, you know what I mean. And the main thing I'd say to anybody that's going to go into leasing, don't do a cents per mile lease, you know what I mean, unless they're going to pay you some ridiculous amount like $3 a mile all the time, you know what I'm saying. But when you do a cents per mile, you go do these mega carrier leases and you do cents per mile, like Trans Am, I think it's like $1 or $4 at most a mile, you know what I'm saying. They got you chasing miles. That's the first mistake. They got you chasing miles, you know what I'm saying. You're always going to be running constantly, because you're going to be pushing to try to get 3,000 miles so you can make over $3,000. And then you run over $3,000, you're like 800-900 bucks in fuel, so you're back down to $2,000. And then on top of that, they have so much deductions, they have so much escrows and all this stuff to take back all that money from you. So by the time you finish, you're left with 1,500 bucks. 1,500 bucks from the time when I was at Trans Am to some of the guys that I used to talk to, 1,500 bucks is high, like really high, you know what I mean, off a paycheck. Sealer, off a paycheck on the lease side there, you know what I mean. I'm just saying, there is, from what I've seen on the other end, like you're leaving so much money on the table. But not everybody is gonna be able to be accepted into certain companies. Not everybody is gonna be able to go with the company that they want. Not everybody is gonna have the capital to go buy a truck right off the bat. So I'm just saying, if you're gonna do a lease, don't do no cents per mile lease, you know what I'm saying. Don't do that. Go do a percentage lease. Make sure you're getting at least 70%, you know what I'm saying, and then you'd be able to see some money by keeping the gross up, you know what I mean. Yeah, but buying a truck as opposed to leasing, no, I'm gonna only talk on the experience that I had at VL. Like when I was running, the numbers that I was seeing at VL compared to buying my own truck now. Now I will say this before I get into it. Since I started working at this company, I have been home every single weekend. You know what I mean? And it's not even like intentional or whatever. Ever since I got out of orientation, I asked them to send me home so I could grab the rest of my stuff. And then I came back out. He was able to find me these loads that they were like 9 stops, 12 stops. It's ridiculous. It's a lot, but it still paid over $3 a mile. You know what I'm saying? Coming out, and it was going to like Texas. Sometimes it's kind of a challenge, you know what I mean? But it still paid over $3, and it's coming out of Miami, so I didn't mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no need for me to be running all over the place. There's no need for me to be running all over the place doing all this work or whatever the case is, when I could still get $3 coming out of Florida, even though, like I said, it's a lot of stop and all that, you know what I mean? So I've basically been home every single solitary weekend since I've basically started here. And then I had a family emergency where I had to go home, and I was going to take the entire week off, and my dispatch called me up because I told him what the situation was. I told him what the situation was, and he said, like, instead of staying home for the week, if you don't want to, like, I can find you local runs in Florida. So at one point in time for the entire week, I was running from Miami to like Tampa to Orlando, then back down to Miami, and then I was home every night. You know what I mean? And still grossing good numbers and still taking home good food, good bread. You know what I'm saying? So it gives you a lot more flexibility than on the leasing side. You know what I'm saying? Like, this truck, I actually govern this truck. You know what I'm saying? This truck is governed at 76. On the lease side, if you're leasing, like for instance with VL, you can't turn the truck up. Trust me, because I've tried it. The truck has a code on there. I know one driver that was over there that had a lease truck that wasn't governed. You know what I'm saying? They're not there anymore or whatever. But like, even if you go lease a truck from like Ryder, you know what I'm saying? Because this is a Ryder truck. And I got this truck. When I got it, it was governed, and I called them and told them I wanted to take it off, and I asked them what the code was, and they told me what the code was. You know what I'm saying? But for what the guy that was doing it told me, he's like, don't take it completely off. You know what I'm saying? For insurance purposes, he's like, it's not wise. So I was just like, okay, put that 76. 76 is pretty much fine. I just don't like to impede traffic trying to go around somebody. One's going 69, one's going 70, or both of you guys going 70. You're stuck in the left lane, you're impeding traffic. 76 is fine, especially here in Texas. A lot of places are like 80 miles per hour or 75. Even though I don't necessarily go that fast. I just don't like to impede traffic, you know what I'm saying? And when you own your own truck too, you don't normally drive that fast anyways. You know what I'm saying? So it gives you a little bit more flexibility. No, leasing like VL trucking leasing where I don't know if it changed now. You know what I'm saying? Because I heard like a lot I've been hearing horror stories, and I've still been hearing a lot of people been still doing good over there. And I know they were making some changes. I heard they were making some changes on the leasing side over there. At one point in time, I think they were saying they're going to start doing escrows because drivers were leaving the trucks in different states. I think they were saying they were requiring $2,500 down or something like that for like a down payment for the truck or whatever. Like, I don't know. These are what other drivers told me. You know what I'm saying? So don't quote me on that. I don't know if they change anything on the leasing side, but you know what I'm saying? If you're going to do a lease like VL Trucking Leasing is one of the better leases out there. You know what I'm saying? Or unless you're going to lease from like a third party, like maybe Lone Mountain Penske or Ryder or one of them, like, I would suggest doing a leasing like that. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of these different leases that are out there, they just take so much deductions, and then by the time you're finished, you're not you don't really see much. You might think you're seeing a lot, or if you're not used to making that kind of money, or you just start seeing that kind of money, you might think it is a lot, but it's really not. Not when you seen what's on the other side. You know what I'm saying? It's like me at this point right now, as being an owner operator without my own authority. There might be someone with their own authority that's looking at this video and might be saying, oh, if you think you're seeing XYZ right now, but if you should have your own authority, then it's a whole different ball game. You know what I'm saying? So from my experience, because I've done a little bit of the leasing, and I know on the owner operator side, and I see the numbers doing comparison, it's, yes, there is a change, no lie. Like, you know what I mean, it gives you flexibility. You can make more money than on the leasing side, because, you know what I mean, your overhead is a lot lower based on if you have a truck payment or if you bought the truck straight out. You know, at VL you're paying $2,000 a month, $2,000 a month basically. But if you buy your own truck right out, you have no truck payment. That money goes back. Or if you're paying 15 or 12 or 1,000, some people has it as low as to $500 a month for their truck payment. You know what I'm saying? That's money that's going back into your pocket. So it gives you flexibility. You make a little bit more money depending on your situation. You know what I'm saying? But it's not that big. Honestly, I think I would have been a lot more excited, honestly, or because I am excited and I am grateful. Don't get me wrong. If I left from like the company driver, like I was coming from like a mega carrier, and then I just switched over to being an owner operator, and then I'm seeing the kind of numbers that I'm seeing now, you know, I guess it would have been a different feeling, you know what I'm saying? But for me right now, like making the kind of money that I'm making is basically like the same feeling. It was a more exciting feeling when I was at VL, because I had just started making that kind of money, you know, if you guys get what I'm saying, you know what I mean? But overall, it's a good experience, you know what I'm saying? If you don't have the capital to go buy a truck and you can get in with a lease like VL, I'd say go do it, you know what I'm saying? Do it, stack up your bread. Just have a plan, stack your bread, and then go buy a truck. Whether you want to buy it right out, or you want to make a comfortable enough down payment, or whatever the case is. What I'd suggest also, if you're going to buy a truck, if you're thinking about buying a truck, do the research while you're doing the lease. You know what I mean? Call up some of these companies, do some of these research, use the truck that you're driving to go to whatever state. Usually Texas has trucks a lot cheaper than most states that I've looked into, you know what I'm saying? So if you see a truck in Texas and you live all the way in Florida like I did, and you had a truck and you're driving for somewhere like VL, you tell your dispatch you want to go to Texas, you get over there, you take a day off, you go look at the truck, examine the truck, ask all the questions that you need to ask, do all the research. Some people do oil samples. I'm going to do a video on, I'm no expert, everybody knows how to do a pre-trip, but I'm going to do a video on what to basically look for, some of the things that you can look for when you should be buying a truck, you know what I'm saying? That's going to help you out, a few key tips, you know what I mean? But just use it to your own advantage. Go to whatever state, ask all the questions that you need to ask, call the banks, figure out how much you need to come up with for a down payment, get your credit right, you know what I mean? Fix your credit while you're making this money on the 1099 side, you know what I'm saying? Set your LLC up, all of these things, you know what I mean? Because these are like things that are required to buy your truck, you know what I mean? It gives you a little edge, you know what I'm saying? I might do a video on the whole buying procedure. If you guys want me to do that, just drop it in the comment. I don't want to make this video anymore longer, so I'm gonna cut it right here. But thank you guys very much again for watching. I appreciate you guys subscribing to the channel. I appreciate everybody that's reached out to me on Instagram. Those of you guys don't know, I'm gonna leave a link in the description. I'm gonna leave the name of my Instagram in the description also. Thank you guys again, like I said, for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Just keep safe out there.